The alarm screamed through every corridor of Kepler Station. Red lights flashed on and off, casting scary shadows on the metal walls. Daeho Kim ran down the hallway, his boots making loud sounds on the floor. He was the station commander, and right now 50,000 people needed him to keep them alive. "Commander Kim to the bridge." The voice came from his radio. It was Heejin Park, his chief engineer. She sounded worried. Daeho reached the bridge and saw the big screen showing space outside. What he saw made his heart sink. Huge alien ships surrounded their station. The ships were dark and scary with sharp edges like knives. They belonged to the Vorthak Empire. "How many ships?" Daeho asked. 20 big ones, sir," said Taemin Lee, the security chief, "and lots of smaller attack ships. Maybe 100 total." Daeho looked at the screen. The Vorthak ships were 3 times bigger than anything humans had ever built. Their weapons could destroy a planet, and they were here for his station. "Sir, they're sending a message," said the communications officer. "Put it on screen." The image changed to show a Vorthak leader. The alien looked like a giant lizard with sharp teeth. Its eyes were cold and mean. When it spoke, its voice was like rocks grinding together. "Small humans," the alien said. "I am War Sovereign Kretak. You will surrender now. Open your doors. Let us take what we want. Do this and some of you might live." Daeho stepped forward. "This is Commander Kim of Kepler Station. We are a peaceful mining colony. We have done nothing wrong," the alien laughed. It was a terrible sound. "Wrong, you exist. That is enough. You have 1 hour to surrender. If you do not, we will take everything anyway. Your choice is to die quickly or slowly." The screen went black. Everyone on the bridge looked at Daeho. They were scared. He could see it in their eyes. But they were also waiting for him to tell them what to do. "Taemin," Daeho said, "get all security teams ready. Heijin, I need every shield and weapon we have working perfectly." "Sir?" Heijin said quietly. "Our weapons are just mining tools. They're not made for fighting. And our shields? They won't last long against those ships." Daeho nodded. He knew this. But he also knew something else. "We have families here, children, we can't just give up." Down in the engineering section, Hyojin worked fast with her team. They were trying to make their mining lasers stronger. The lasers were made to cut rocks, not fight spaceships, but maybe they could do some damage. "Boss," said one of her workers, "the power cables can't handle this much energy. They might explode. Then we'll replace them as they break," Yejin said. "Keep working." In another part of the station, Dr. So-Young Choi was in her laboratory. She studied alien life forms. Right now, she was looking at old data about the Vorthak. What she found made her sick. The Vorthak didn't just kill people. They took them apart. They used pieces of alien brains to make themselves smarter and stronger. They had done this to 17 different species. All of those species were now extinct. So-Young ran to find Daeho. She found him in the security center with Taemin. "Commander," she said, breathing hard.
"I know why they're here."
"It's not just for our mining equipment. They want us. Our brains. Our bodies. They cut up living people to use their parts." Taemin's face went white. "All of us?" "Everyone," So-Young said. "Men, women, children. They don't care." Daeho felt cold inside. Now he understood. This wasn't about surrender. The Vorthak were going to kill everyone no matter what. Surrendering would just make it easier for them. "Taemin," he said, "start moving people to the safe areas. The deep parts of the station with the strongest walls." "Yes, sir." The hour passed quickly. When it was over, the Vorthak attacked. The first hit shook the whole station. The lights went out for a moment, then came back on. Then another hit and another. The Vorthak weapons hit their shields like giant hammers. On the bridge, everyone held onto their chairs as the station shook. "Shields at 60%, someone called out, 50%, 40%. Daeho watched the numbers go down. Each hit took away more of their protection. Soon there would be nothing left between them and the aliens. "Fire our weapons," he ordered. Their mining lasers shot out at the Vorthak ships. The beams hit the alien shields and made them glow, but they didn't break through. "No damage to enemy ships," Taemin reported. Jinwoo Nam was a worker who fixed things around the station. He was in one of the safe areas with his family. His wife held their baby daughter. Around them, hundreds of other families waited in fear. "Daddy," his 6-year-old son asked, "are the bad aliens going to hurt us?" Jinwoo didn't know what to say. He looked around at all the scared faces. Old people, young people, children, babies, all waiting to die. "No," he said finally. Commander Kim won't let them hurt us. But even as he said it, Jinwoo wasn't sure if it was true. Back on the bridge, things were getting worse. Shields at 20%. Communications array is damaged. We can't talk to anyone outside the station. Enemy ships are moving closer. Daeho made a hard choice. Send out a distress signal. Use emergency power. Send it in all direction. Sir, the communications officer said. The Galactic Federation is too far away. Even if they got our message, it would take them months to get here. Send it anyway, Daeho said. Maybe someone else will hear it. The signal went out into space. It traveled in all directions, looking for anyone who might help. But space was big and empty. The closest Federation ships were weeks away, and most other species were too scared of the Vorthak to fight them. The signal flew through the darkness, carrying the voices of 50,000 people who were about to die. It passed dead planets and empty star systems. It seemed like no one would ever hear it. But space was full of surprises, and sometimes help came from places no one expected. The shields finally broke. Shields down. Heejin's voice came over the radio. I'm trying to get backup power to the emergency shields, but it won't last long. Daeho looked at the screen. The Vorthak ships were so close now he could see the details on their hulls. Soon they would send troops to take over the station. All security teams to defensive positions, he ordered. We're going to fight them for every corridor, every room. He knew they couldn't win, but they could make the aliens pay for every step. Maybe that would mean something. Maybe someone would hear their call for help. Maybe. 3 weeks had passed since the Vorthak attack began. Kepler Station was like a wounded animal, bleeding air and power. The aliens kept hitting them, but they didn't try to board the station yet. They were playing with their food. Daeho sat in his command chair, looking at the damage reports. Half their power was gone. The water recycling system was failing. Food was running low. But the worst part was watching his people lose hope. Sir, Taemin said, walking up to him. We lost another section last night. Level 7 is completely sealed off now. The hull breach was too big to fix. Daeho nodded. They had lost 6 sections so far. Each time they had to move more families into smaller spaces. People were getting angry and scared. How many people in the safe zones now? He asked. 45,000, Taemin said. We're running out of room. In the deep parts of the station, Jinwoo Nam was trying to fix a broken air cleaner. The tool in his hands was old and tired, just like everything else on the station. Around him, families sat on the floor with their few belongings. His little son, Sung-ho, came up to him. Daddy, I'm hungry. Jinwoo looked at his boy. They all were hungry. Food portions had been cut 3 times already. I know, buddy. Just wait a little longer, okay? As Jinwoo worked, he found something strange. Behind the air cleaner, there was an old computer panel. It was covered in dust and wires. When he cleaned it off, he saw it was much older than the rest of the station. That's weird, he said to himself. Jinwoo was good with computers. He connected his tool to the old panel and turned it on. Words appeared on the small screen. They were in Old Earth language, but Jinwoo could read them. The files were very old. They talked about something called Human Defense Archives. Jinwoo had never heard of that before. He kept reading. The files mentioned humans from Earth, but that was impossible. Everyone knew Earth was destroyed 200 years ago. All humans lived on colony worlds now, like Kepler Station. But these files talked about humans like they were warriors. Strong fighters who never gave up. They had ships and weapons that could fight anything. The files called them the ones who never abandoned their own. Jinwoo read more. The files said these Earth humans had special ships. Fast ships that could appear anywhere in space. They helped people who were in trouble, even if those people were strangers. This has to be old stories, Jinwoo said. Fairy tales, but something about the files felt real. The technical details were too exact for fairy tales. And there were star maps, showing places where these mystery humans had bases. Jinwoo copied the files to his personal device. Maybe Commander Kim should see this. In the medical bay, Dr. So Young Choi was working on a wounded security guard. The man had been hurt when a Vorthak energy beam hit his post. Burns covered half his body, doctor, the man said weakly. How much longer can we hold out? So Young didn't answer right away. She knew the truth. They had maybe a week of supplies left. After that, people would start dying from hunger and thirst, not just Vorthak weapons. We'll hold out as long as we need to, she said. But inside, she felt hopeless. She had studied the Vorthak for years. They were experts at breaking people's spirits. They would hit the station just enough to cause pain, but not enough to end things quickly. They wanted everyone to suffer first. The Vorthak had done this 17 times before. 17 different species had died slowly while begging for mercy, and mercy never came. So Young had been reading the old reports about those other species. The Kalani bird people had lasted 2 months before they surrendered. The Vorthak had still killed them all. The Nexus machine people had tried to fight back with logic and planning. It didn't matter. They were gone too. What made humans think they would be different? On the Vorthak command ship, War Sovereign Kretak was enjoying himself. He stood in front of a big screen showing Kepler Station. The human station looked like a broken toy now, leaking air and spinning slowly. War Sovereign, one of his officers said, "The humans are still fighting. Should we finish them?" Kretak made a sound like rocks falling. It was Vorthak laughter. "No, let them suffer more. I want to study how long humans can last before they break." The other species gave up much faster. He walked to another screen that showed the inside of the station. His spy drones had been watching the humans for weeks. What he saw confused him. The humans should have surrendered by now. They were weak creatures with no real weapons. Their technology was basic. Their bodies were soft and easily broken. But they kept fighting. "These humans are strange," Kretak said. "Most species beg for mercy by now. These ones just get angrier." His science officer, a thin alien with too many eyes, looked at the data. "War Sovereign, they are using mining tools as weapons. They are making bombs from cleaning supplies. Their engineers are doing impossible things to keep their systems working. It is interesting." Kretak didn't like interesting. He liked simple. Attack, destroy, harvest, move on. These humans were making things complicated. "Begin boarding preparations," he ordered. "Tomorrow we go inside. I want to see what makes these humans so stubborn." Back on the station, Heejin Park was in the engine room, working magic with broken machines. She had been awake for 3 days straight, running on coffee and pure determination. "Chief," one of her engineers said, "the main power core is overheating again. We need to shut it down." "No," Hyojin said. "If we shut down main power, life support fails in the civilian areas. Find another way." "But Chief, if the core explodes, then we all die anyway," Hyojin said. "Keep it running. Use the emergency coolant from Storage Bay 7. That's our last emergency coolant. Then we better make it count." Hyojin looked around the engine room. Everything was held together with wire and hope. They had used every spare part on the station. Now they were using parts that weren't really spare. But it was working. Somehow, impossibly, it was working. Jinwoo finally found Commander Kim in the security center. Daeho was looking at defense plans with Taemin. Both men looked exhausted. "Commander," Jinwoo said, "I found something you should see." He showed Daeho the old files on his device. As the commander read, his expression changed from tired to confused to hopeful. "Where did you find this?" Daeho asked. "Old computer panel in Section 12. The files are from before the colony was built. Someone hid them there." Taemin looked over Daeho's shoulder. "Sir, this talks about human military units. But there aren't any human military units anymore. The Federation handles all defense. Unless," Daeho said slowly, "these aren't Federation humans." The 3 men looked at each other. Everyone knew the story. Earth had been destroyed 200 years ago. All the humans who survived had joined the Federation and spread out to colony worlds. The old Earth government was gone. The old Earth military was gone, but what if it wasn't? "Sir," Jinwoo said, "the files have star maps, coordinates. They talk about deep space patrols and hidden bases." Daeho studied the maps. Most of the coordinates were in empty space, far from any known colonies. Places where no one would think to look. "Commander," Taemin said carefully, "even if this is real, how would we contact them? Our long-range communications are destroyed." Daeho looked at the files again. There was a section about emergency protocols, hidden frequencies, secret codes. "Maybe we already did," he said quietly. He remembered the distress signal they had sent 3 weeks ago. It had gone out in all directions, on all frequencies. If there were really humans out there, secret humans with warships, they might have heard it. "Sir," Taemin said, "you don't really think—" Before Daeho could answer, the lights went out. Emergency power kicked in a moment later, but everything was red and scary. "Commander, to the bridge." Hyojin's voice came over the radio. "They're coming." Multiple boarding ships launched from the Vorthak fleet. Daeho ran to the bridge, still holding Jinwoo's device. Through the windows, he could see small Vorthak ships heading toward the station. Each ship carried soldiers ready to kill everyone inside. All security teams to boarding defense positions, he ordered. As alarms rang through the station, Daeho looked one more time at the old files. Stories about humans who never abandoned their own. Humans who came to help when no one else would. He really hoped those stories were true. Deep in space, far from any star, the battleship Terra's Vengeance moved like a silent ghost. It was huge and powerful, but it stayed hidden in the darkness between solar systems. Most of the galaxy thought ships like this didn't exist anymore. Captain Junho Seo stood on the bridge looking at the stars through the main window. His ship was on a secret mission, checking the outer edges of known space. For 200 years his people had stayed hidden, watching and waiting. "Captain," said Navigator Minna Jung, looking up from her control station, "we're picking up something strange." Junho walked over to her station. Minna was the best navigator in the hidden fleet. If she said something was strange, it was worth listening to. "What kind of strange?" he asked. "A distress signal, sir. Very faint. It's coming from the Kepler system about 3 days away." Weapons Officer Wu Jin Bei turned around in his chair. "Sir, Kepler system is way outside our patrol area. Why would we be getting signals from there?" Junho frowned. "Put the signal on speakers." The bridge filled with static. Then, through the noise, they heard a human voice. It sounded scared and desperate. "This is Commander Kim of Kepler Station. We are under attack by Vorthak forces. 50,000 civilians in danger. Need immediate assistance. Anyone who receives this message, please help us." The bridge went quiet. Everyone stared at the speakers. "How old is this signal?" Junho asked. Minna checked her instruments. 3 weeks, sir. It's been traveling through space all this time." Chief Medical Officer Yoon-Soo Kang came onto the bridge. She had heard the signal from the medical bay. "Captain, did they say Vorthak?" "Yes." Junho's voice was grim. Everyone knew about the Vorthak Empire. They were the monsters that parents used to scare children, the aliens who destroyed entire species for fun. "Sir," Wu Jin said, "our orders are to maintain secrecy. If we respond to this signal, the whole galaxy will know we exist." Junho nodded. For 200 years, the surviving humans had stayed hidden. After Earth was destroyed, everyone thought humanity was finished. The Federation assumed all remaining humans had joined their colonies and given up their old ways. They were wrong. Some humans had escaped to the deep places between stars. They had built secret bases and hidden ships. They had spent 2 centuries becoming stronger, smarter, and more dangerous. They had learned from their mistakes, and they had never forgotten the lesson of Earth. When you're in trouble, no one comes to help unless you can help yourself. "Minna," Junho said, "how long to reach Kepler Station?" 3 days at maximum burn, sir." Junho walked back to the center of the bridge. His crew watched him, waiting for orders. He looked at each of them. Minna, who could navigate through the worst space storms. Wu Jin, who could hit a target the size of a coin from 1,000 kilometers away.
Yoon-Soo, who had saved lives on a dozen worlds. These were his people.
The best humanity had to offer. "Sir," Wu Jin said quietly, "if the signal is 3 weeks old, they might already be dead." "Then we make sure their deaths are answered," Junho said. "Minna, set course for Kepler Station. Maximum burn." "Sir," she said, "that will put a lot of stress on the engines." "The engines can handle it." "Can you?" Minna smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of someone who was about to do something dangerous and exciting. "Yes, sir. Wu Jin, prepare all weapons. I want our quantum torpedoes ready for combat testing." "Sir, the quantum torpedoes are still experimental. We don't know if they'll work properly in a real battle. Then we're about to find out." "Hyun-Soo, prepare medical bay for casualties." "Whose casualties, sir?" she asked. "Hopefully not ours." As the Terra's Vengeance changed course, Junho thought about the choice he was making. For 200 years, humanity had stayed hidden. They had secretly helped other species sometimes, but always carefully. Always from the shadows. Now he was about to throw away 2 centuries of secrecy for 50,000 strangers. But they weren't really strangers, were they? They were humans. They were his people, even if they didn't know he existed. "Captain," Minna said from her station, "we're going to need a lot of power for this run. Should I take energy from the stealth systems?" "Do it," Junho said. "We won't need to hide where we're going." The ship began to move faster. Much faster. The Terra's Vengeance had technology that the Federation had never seen. Human engineers had spent 2 centuries making their ships better, stronger, faster. They had learned from every species they had met. They had taken the best ideas from the Kalani, the Nexus, and dozen other races. Then they had made those ideas better. "Sir," Yunsu said, "can I ask you something?" "Go ahead. Why are we doing this?" "I mean, I understand helping people, but this will reveal everything. The whole galaxy will know we survived." Junho looked out at the stars. They were moving so fast now that the stars looked like lines of light. "Because," he said finally, "hiding was supposed to make us stronger. But what's the point of being strong if we don't use that strength to help people?" He paused, thinking about Earth, about all the humans who had died when no one came to help them. "Besides," he said, "maybe it's time the galaxy knew we're still here." 3 days later, they arrived at the edge of the Kepler system. What they saw made everyone angry. 20 Vorthak warships surrounded a small space station. The station was badly damaged, leaking air and spinning slowly. Parts of it were completely destroyed. "Life signs?" Junho asked. Yunsu checked her scanners. "Weak, but yes, there are still people alive in there." "Enemy ships?" Wu Jin studied the Vorthak fleet. 20 capital ships, about 100 smaller vessels. "They're not expecting trouble, sir. Their weapons are powered down, shields at minimum. They're playing with their food," Minna said with disgust. Junho watched the scene for a long moment. The Vorthak ships were taking turns shooting at the station. Just enough to cause pain, not enough to end things quickly. They were enjoying this. "Sir," Wu Jin said, "I'm detecting boarding parties on the station. The Vorthak have soldiers inside." Junho's hands became fists. He had read the reports about what the Vorthak did to prisoners. He had seen the videos from 17 dead worlds. "All hands battle stations," he said into the ship's communication system. "This is your captain. We are about to engage Vorthak forces. They have hurt our people. We are going to hurt them back." He looked around the bridge at his crew. They were ready. They had been training for this moment their whole lives. "Minna, take us in." Full speed straight at their command ship. "Sir, shouldn't we try talking first? Warn them to surrender?" Junho thought about 50,000 humans trapped on that dying station. He thought about the Vorthak soldiers inside hurting innocent people. "No," he said. "We've done enough talking. Wujin, target their command ship. Quantum torpedoes." "Targeting solutions ready, sir." "Minna, drop us out of hyperspace right on top of them. I want to see the surprise on their ugly faces." The Terra's vengeance prepared to reveal itself to the galaxy. The ship's weapons powered up. Its armor plates shifted into battle configuration. Deep in the engine room, reactors that could power a small planet hummed with deadly energy. On the dying station, humans were fighting and dying. They thought they were alone. They thought no help would come. They were wrong. "All stations report ready, sir," Minna said. Junho sat down in his captain's chair. Around him, his bridge crew waited for the order that would change everything. "Take us in," he said. "Let's show these monsters what humans can do." The Terra's vengeance dropped out of hyperspace like thunder from heaven. The war for Kepler Station was about to begin. The boarding alarm screamed through Kepler Station as Vorthak soldiers cut through the outer hull. Daeho Kim ran through the corridors, his weapon ready. Behind him, Taemin Lee and 20 security guards prepared for the fight of their lives. "They're coming through Section 4, Taemin said into his radio. "Heavy cutting tools. Maybe 10 minutes before they break through." Daeho looked at his small team. They had mining tools and security weapons. The Vorthak had military armor and energy rifles. It wasn't a fair fight. "Remember," he told his people, "we don't have to win. We just have to make them pay for every step." The first explosion came from above them. Pieces of metal fell from the ceiling. Smoke filled the air. Then they heard the sound that made everyone's blood turn cold. Vorthak voices speaking in their harsh language. Through the smoke came the first alien soldier. It was huge, twice the size of a human covered in black armor. Its rifle glowed with deadly energy. Taemin shot first. His weapon hit the alien's armor and made sparks but didn't go through. The Vorthak turned toward him and fired back. Taemin jumped behind a wall just as the energy beam burned the air where he had been standing. "Spread out," Daeho shouted. "Don't let them group us together." The battle for the corridor began. Humans ran and jumped and hid behind anything they could find. The Vorthak walked forward slowly, their weapons cutting through walls and floors. 2 of Daeho's guards went down in the first minute. The Vorthak weapons were too powerful, but the humans kept fighting. They used their mining explosives to blow holes in the floor. They shot cables to make electrical traps. They fought like their lives depended on it because they did. In the civilian areas, Jin Woo Nam heard the fighting getting closer. Around him, families held each other tight. Children cried. Old people prayed. "Daddy," his son Sung-ho whispered, "I'm scared." Jin-woo held his boy close. "I know, buddy. But Commander Kim is fighting the bad aliens. He won't let them hurt us." But Jin-woo wasn't sure about that anymore. The sounds of battle were getting louder, and he could smell smoke. Dr. So-young Choi was in her medical station treating wounded guards as they were brought in. The injuries were terrible. Vorthak weapons didn't just hurt people. They burned them from the inside out. "Doctor," one guard said as she worked on his arm, "how many more are coming?" "I don't know," she said honestly, "but we'll keep fighting them as long as we can." The guard laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "We're going to die here, aren't we?" So Young stopped working for a moment. She looked around the medical bay. Wounded humans lay on tables and floors. Blood was everywhere. Outside, she could hear the sound of weapons and explosions. "Maybe," she said, "but we're not going to die easy." 3 levels up, Heejin Park was trying to keep the station's life support working. Every time the Vorthak weapons hit something important, more systems failed. "Chief," one of her engineers called out, "we just lost power to Section 7. Life support is failing there." "Reroute through the backup lines," Hyejin ordered. "We don't have backup lines anymore." "We used them all up." Heejin looked at her control board. Half the lights were red, showing broken systems. The other half were yellow, showing systems that were about to break. "Then we make new backup lines," she said. "Strip power cables from the non-essential areas. Storage bays, empty offices, anywhere people aren't living. Chief, if we keep doing this, the whole power grid might collapse. If we don't do this, people will die from bad air before the aliens even reach them." The fighting moved closer to the civilian areas. Daeho's team had been forced back 3 times. They were running out of ammunition and people. "Sir," Taemin said, reloading his weapon, "we've lost contact with Teams 2 and 5. Daeho nodded grimly. Teams 2 and 5 were gone. That meant the Vorthak had broken through in 2 other places. "How many soldiers do we have left?" "Maybe 30 scattered around the station. 30 humans against hundreds of alien soldiers. And more boarding ships were coming." "Sir," one of his guards said, "maybe we should fall back to the central area. Make our last stand there." Daeho thought about it. The central area had stronger walls and better defensive positions. But it was also where most of the civilians were hiding. "No," he said. "We hold them here as long as we can. Every minute we delay them is another minute for the families." Another minute for what? Help wasn't coming. The Federation was too far away. No one else in the galaxy was strong enough to fight the Vorthak. But Daeho couldn't give up. These people had trusted him to protect them. He would keep fighting until his last breath. The battle continued for hours. Slowly, the humans were pushed back. The Vorthak moved through the station like a disease, taking over section after section. Finally, Daeho and his remaining guards were forced back to the main plaza. It was a big open area in the center of the station. Around the edges, doors led to the civilian shelters. "This is it," Taemin said. "This is where we make our stand." Daeho looked around the plaza. There were 12 guards left, including himself and Taemin. 12 humans with almost no ammunition against an army of aliens. The Vorthak soldiers came into the plaza from 3 different entrances. There were at least 50 of them, all armed and armored. At their head walked War Sovereign Kretak himself. The alien leader was even bigger and scarier in person. His armor was covered with symbols showing all the species he had destroyed. His weapon looked like it could cut through a spaceship. "Humans," Kretak said in his grinding voice. "You have fought well, better than most species. I'm almost impressed." Daeho stepped forward. His weapon was almost empty, but he held it steady. "Let the civilians go." "Your fight is with us," Kretak laughed. "My fight is with all humans. But I will give you a choice. Surrender now, and I will kill the children quickly. Keep fighting, and I will make them suffer." "Go to hell," Daeho said. "Hell?" Kretak tilted his massive head. "I do not know this word, but I think you will learn its meaning soon." The War Sovereign gestured to his soldiers. They began opening the doors to the civilian shelters. Families were dragged out into the plaza. Men, women, children, babies, all of them scared and crying. Jin Woo Nam was pushed into the plaza with his family. His wife carried their baby daughter. His son Sung-ho held tight to his hand. "Daddy," the boy whispered. "What's happening?" Jin-woo looked at the alien soldiers surrounding them, at their huge leader with his cold eyes, at Commander Kim and his few remaining guards outnumbered and outgunned. "Nothing good," he said quietly. Kritak walked among the civilians, looking at them like they were animals in a zoo. "Such soft creatures," he said. "Such weak bodies. But your brains will make excellent additions to our collection." Dr. So-Young Choi was in the crowd of prisoners. She had been dragged from her medical bay when the Vorthak overran it. Now she watched in horror as Kritak selected people from the crowd. "You," he said, pointing at an old man. "And you, a young woman. And you, a teenage boy. What are you doing?" Diho demanded. "Choosing," Kritak said. "I will execute 10 of your people. Then you will surrender the rest. If you do not surrender, I will choose 10 more. And 10 more after that, until you understand that resistance is pointless." The selected prisoners were forced to their knees in the center of the plaza. The old man was crying. The young woman was trying to be brave. The teenage boy was shaking with fear. Kritak raised his weapon. "No!" Daeho shouted. He tried to run forward, but Vorthak soldiers grabbed him. "Watch," Kritak commanded. "See what your resistance costs." The alien's finger moved toward the trigger of his weapon. And then, suddenly, every Vorthak soldier in the plaza received the same message on their communication devices. Something was coming. Something big. Something that was moving impossibly fast through space toward their position. Kritak lowered his weapon and listened to the report from his ships. His face changed from cruel amusement to confusion to something that might have been fear. "What?" he snarled into his communicator. "That is impossible. Humans do not have ships like that." Outside the station, space suddenly filled with thunder. The Terra's vengeance appeared in space like a nightmare made real. One moment there was empty darkness. The next moment there was a human battleship twice the size of any Vorthak vessel. It moved with impossible grace for something so huge, sliding between the alien ships like a shark among minnows. On the bridge, Captain Junho Seo watched the enemy fleet scramble to respond. Vorthak ships that had been lazily orbiting the station suddenly powered up their weapons and shields. But they were too slow. They had been playing with helpless prey for too long. "Target the command ship," Junho ordered. "Full spread of quantum torpedoes." Woo Jinbei's fingers moved over his weapons controls like a pianist playing a deadly song. "Target locked, sir. Quantum torpedoes ready. Fire." The Terra's vengeance spoke with a voice of pure energy. 6 torpedoes launched from its forward tubes, each one carrying enough power to crack a moon. They moved through space faster than thought, faster than fear. The Vorthak command ship tried to turn away. Its shields came up to full power. Energy barriers that could stop normal weapons flared to life around the alien vessel. The quantum torpedoes hit the shields and passed through them like they weren't there. The explosions lit up space like new stars. The Vorthak command ship, which had destroyed 17 species, broke apart in seconds. Pieces of alien metal scattered in all directions. "Direct hit," Woo Jin reported, but his voice was amazed. "Sir, the quantum torpedoes worked better than our best predictions. The enemy shields couldn't stop them at all." "Good," Junho said. "Target the next largest ship." The Vorthak fleet finally realized what was happening. Weapons that could destroy planets turned toward the human ship. Energy beams that could melt asteroids flashed through space. All of them hit the Terra's vengeance directly. None of them did any damage. "Adaptive armor is working perfectly," reported the ship's engineer. "Enemy weapons are being absorbed and redirected." Navigator Min Ah-jung spun the ship through space like it was a fighter, not a battleship. She dodged between Vorthak vessels, always keeping the Terra's vengeance in the perfect position for Woo Jin to fire. "Sir," she called out, "the enemy is trying to run. 3 ships are powering up their hyperspace drives." "Don't let them escape," Junho ordered. "If even one gets away, they'll warn the Vorthak Empire about us." The Terra's vengeance accelerated to impossible speeds. It caught the fleeing ships before they could jump to hyperspace. Quantum torpedoes reached out like the fists of an angry god, crushing alien vessels one by one. Inside Kepler Station, everyone felt the explosions. The whole structure shook as massive ships died outside. War Sovereign Kritak was shouting into his communicator, demanding reports from his fleet. What he heard made his face go pale with shock. Half the fleet destroyed? He roared. By one ship? That is impossible. But the reports kept coming. Ship after ship was dying. The humans had somehow built a vessel that could destroy Vorthak warships like they were toys. In the plaza, Dae-ho Kim watched the alien leader's growing panic. For the first time since this nightmare began, he felt something like hope. Looks like someone heard our distress call, he said to Tai Min. The security chief was staring at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of battle in space above them. Sir, who could build a ship strong enough to fight the Vorthak fleet? Before Dae-ho could answer, every screen in the plaza came to life. The Vorthak had been using them to show propaganda, but now they showed something else. They showed space outside the station, where a massive human ship was destroying the alien fleet. The ship was beautiful and terrible at the same time. Its hull was dark metal that seemed to drink in starlight. Weapons moved along its sides like the scales of a dragon. It moved through space with perfect control, dodging enemy fire while delivering death with every shot. What is that? Jin Woo-nam whispered, holding his family close. Dr. So-young Choi was staring at the screen with professional interest. It's human, she said, amazed. Look at the design. The proportions. That's definitely human engineering. But we don't have ships like that, someone else said. Apparently we do, So-young replied. Kreetak was listening to his communicator again. The news was getting worse every second. What do you mean only 5 ships left? We had 20 capital vessels. He turned to look at the human prisoners in the plaza. His eyes were full of rage and confusion. What kind of humans are you? Where did that ship come from? Dae-ho stepped forward. For the first time in weeks, he was smiling. The kind of humans you should have been afraid of all along. The alien leader raised his weapon toward Dae-ho. But before he could fire, every light in the plaza went out. Emergency power kicked in a moment later, bathing everything in red light. War Sovereign, one of his soldiers called out. We're receiving a transmission from the human ship. Put it on speakers. The plaza filled with a human voice. It was calm and controlled, but there was steel underneath the words. This is Captain Seo of the Human Defense Force vessel Terra's Vengeance. You have 30 seconds to release all prisoners and withdraw from the station, or we will demonstrate why our species survived extinction. Kreetak laughed, but it sounded forced. One ship against the might of the Vorthak Empire? You cannot threaten us, human. 29 seconds, the voice said. I have hostages. Kreetak shouted. If you attack this station, they will all die. 28 seconds. We are aware of the hostage situation. We have a solution. On the Terra's Vengeance, Captain Junho Seo was studying detailed scans of the station's interior. His ship's sensors could see through walls, showing him exactly where every person was located. Yun-soo, he said to his medical officer. Are you ready? Chief Medical Officer Yun-soo Kang nodded. Transport system is locked onto all human life signs. We can beam them out in groups of 50. What about the Vorthak soldiers? They have different biological signatures. The transport system won't recognize them as valid targets. Junho smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Perfect. Begin transport operations. In the plaza, Jin Woo-nam felt a strange tingling sensation. The air around him began to shimmer like heat waves. Other people were starting to glow with soft blue light. What's happening? His wife asked. I don't know, Jin-woo said. But somehow he wasn't scared. The first group of civilians began to disappear. Not all at once, but in small groups. Families vanished in sparkles of light, leaving empty spaces where they had been standing. Kreetak watched in shock as his hostages disappeared one by one. What is this? What are you doing? 15 seconds, Captain Seo's voice said. We are removing your leverage. The Vorthak soldiers tried to grab the remaining humans, but their hands passed right through them. The transport system was already beginning to work on the next group. Dr. So-young Choi felt the tingling sensation start to affect her. She looked around the plaza, seeing fewer and fewer humans every second. The Vorthak soldiers were starting to panic. Fascinating, she said to herself. Some kind of matter transport system. The Federation doesn't have anything like this. More people disappeared. Families, workers, children, elderly people. All of them vanishing in gentle lights, leaving the Vorthak soldiers alone in the plaza. 5 seconds, Captain Seo announced. Kreetak looked around desperately. Most of his hostages were gone. His fleet was destroyed. His soldiers were trapped on a dying station with an enemy that could make people disappear. Wait, he shouted. We can negotiate. We can make a deal. Time's up, Captain Seo said. Daeho Kim felt a tingling sensation reach him. As he began to disappear, he looked directly at Kreetak. "Next time," he said, "pick on someone your own size." Then he was gone, leaving the Vorthak alone with their fear. On the Terra's Vengeance, the civilian refugees appeared in the ship's cargo bays. Junho had ordered them converted into temporary living spaces. Medical teams were waiting to help anyone who was hurt. Jin Woo Nam appeared with his family in a bay filled with other confused civilians. Around them, human crew members in unfamiliar uniforms were handing out food and blankets. "Welcome aboard," one of the crew said kindly. "You're safe now." Jinwoo looked around in amazement. The cargo bay was huge, bigger than anything on Kepler Station. The walls were covered with technology he didn't recognize, and everywhere he looked he saw humans in military uniforms that he had never seen before. "Who are you people?" he asked. The crew member smiled. "We're the ones who never gave up." On the bridge, Junho watched as the last of the civilians were transported aboard. His ship now carried 50,000 refugees, but it had been built to handle much larger numbers. "All civilians aboard, sir," Yunsu reported. "Good." Junho turned to Wu Jin. "Now target the station. I want those Vorthak soldiers to understand something." "What's that, sir?" "That mercy is a choice, and they used up theirs a long time ago." The Terra's Vengeance turned its weapons toward Kepler Station, but these weren't the quantum torpedoes that had destroyed the Vorthak fleet. These were precision weapons designed for a very specific purpose. The beams hit the station in exactly the right places. Not to destroy it, but to cut it apart. Section by section, the station came apart at its joints. The sections containing Vorthak soldiers were separated from the rest. Those sections began to drift toward the nearby star. In the plaza, Kreetak watched through the windows as his sections of the station fell toward the burning.